Thank you, everybody, so much for being here tonight. It's like a little bit bittersweet, you know, happy that we all got to experience this FY23 SHLA year together, but also sad that it's coming to an end. But I'm glad that everybody here was able to attend tonight because Grace has a really, really wonderful presentation for us tonight, going to be able to give you guys some insight. And I'll just say really quick before I hand it over to Grace, make sure that you guys, if you have questions about if you're going, like when you're going to get your certificate of completion for this year's program, you'll get it by Friday. If you go and look on the survey report and you don't have 4 checks somewhere by your name, you can send us an email at outreach@SWE.org because those 4 checks are what will signify you getting your certificate of completion. But if you have those 4 checks, then you're good to go and you don't need to worry about it, and you'll get your certificate on Friday. There's also going to be a post-program survey that I'll send you guys tonight. I'll either throw it in the chat or I'll send it through Slack and through email for you guys to fill out. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I need to cover right now. Like always, we'll do some Q&A at the end. So if you guys have questions, if you put them in the chat, just try to keep track of them so that you don't lose them when it's time for them to be asked and answered. But yeah, I'm just gonna pass it over to Grace.
Thank you so much, Annalise. Thank you so much to the Society of Women Engineers, of course, for inviting me for this event. I'm just going to share my screen and presentation really quickly. Can you all see this? Okay, I see some head nods, some thumbs up. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm just going to get started by, first of all, saying hi, everyone, and thank you so much again, because it's my great honor to be here today. During this event, I'm sure you all have learned so much about leadership and careers in engineering and technology, and I'm sure you all are buzzing with excitement about how to apply what you've learned and develop your own journey. As we wrap up this event, I'm really thankful to you all for your active participation and engagement. And as Annalise kindly introduced, I'm Grace Liu, a student from New York. I love researching and advocating for gender equality and sustainability using technology and math to design innovative solutions to real-world problems. So I'm going to quickly pass the floor again to Annalise to introduce our awesome sponsors today.
Yeah, today's session is being sponsored by Amateur Radio Digital Communications, Danaher Corporation, Community Impact, General Motors, Cisco, and Turner Construction.
That's so awesome. Thank you. Alrighty, so right now you all are probably thinking, okay, but who is this girl and why is she here? So I'll spend most of my presentation talking about my journey and how you can apply that to becoming STEM leaders. I'm going to start with my roots and where I come from. I was born in Thailand, raised in New York, where we have an incredibly diverse community. I'm blessed to have witnessed firsthand the power of technology in changing the lives of those who previously didn't have access to education. But even so, I ended up being the only girl on a community level robotics team, and I was terrified of speaking up in class. We live in a digital era, and I'm afraid if most technology and even artificial intelligence are made by men and centered around them, there will be no room for women in the future. Can you imagine us women being completely marginalized because we haven't been equally involved in technology and AI algorithm development as men have been? This is my mission, to fight for a future where we can confidently speak up in robotics classes, where we are leaders of STEM clubs, where our decisions and opinions about STEM-related issues are heard. Thus, I started my journey of researching and advocating for these issues. When researching, I looked through a lot of literature and gained an understanding of the gender-digital divide, which is when gender inequality is replicated in the digital world. I wrote a literature review paper and was honored to have it published in a peer-reviewed journal. I also looked at the gender-digital divide in the least developed countries, where this gap is the widest and getting wider. Currently, I'm developing a tool to find what causes gender inequality in business using applied mathematics and behavioral economics. I'm pioneering a theoretical framework for modeling uncertainties and gender differences when entrepreneurs make decisions. This framework will lay the foundation for understanding AI behavior from a gender perspective because AI gets increasingly human. And I'm really thankful to work on many outstanding research projects and have these peer-reviewed publications. But I don't want to limit my work to just publications. So after presenting my research at global conferences and meeting incredible scholars, I founded a nonprofit called Sharing to Empower to develop a global network for researching solutions to gender issues. We have members in Asia, Europe, North America, South America, and Africa. Because of this, I could open the door to opportunities like being invited to speak on TEDx, the United Nations SDG Learncast podcast, International Telecommunications Union, National Youth Leadership Council, and more. Throughout this journey, I realized how there is a lack of support for young researchers and leaders. Oftentimes, the costs of substantial support are sky high. And that's why my current initiative is a project to empower the next generation of aspiring young researchers. Research to Empower will be a free educational initiative aimed at addressing the lack of research support as a supplement to the K-12 curriculum. The core part consists of a free online platform for sharing knowledge and resources, a guidebook, and a free training course. Now, you're probably like, Grace, that's great and all, but why are you telling me this? How did you do this? Tell me some of the dirty details. So here it is, some behind the scenes. First of all, many people will try to put you down or tell you what to do, especially because we're young girls. I can't tell you how many times I've been discouraged because of my gender, my age, but don't let that stop you. Second, we have so much noise around us nowadays, and that's why staying focused and reminding yourself of your personal mission is so important. I used to see Mary over there winning every single debate contest and think, wow, I want to do that too. Or Harold next door participating in yet another art contest and winning again. But in reality, you can't actually be good in everything. And that leads me to my third point, which is managing time. Because choosing wisely about what's to spend your time on is very difficult because we have so many interests. And we also have a billion exams, school clubs, sports, and the list goes on and on. It's not easy to choose between Taylor Swift's music concert with my best friend or working on the project that I'm leading. And there's so much more that I could talk about, but overall, I feel really fortunate because I've received a lot of help and have amazing family and friends to support me. That's why I encourage you to find a support group or people you know can give genuine, honest advice. Because you aren't alone in your journey. We're in this together, and keeping that in mind can help through so many tough times. So what else have I learned from all of this? I learned that leadership and advocacy are so important because learning how to do so can not only empower you, but also the communities around you and beyond. Our society faces so many pressing problems, and it can be extremely overwhelming. So it's up to us to take action, one little step at a time, in becoming leaders for positive change. I believe that everyone has the power to make a lasting impact on this world for the better. Sometimes it just takes a sprinkle of courage and honing in your skills. There's also so much more I've learned while learning to be a leader, such as writing, public speaking, being confident, networking, having a cross-cultural understanding, and most importantly, having a positive attitude throughout and staying strong. Because little do you know, if you stay strong, you'll have people around you looking up to you and thinking, wow, she is amazing. She's an incredible leader. She's my role model. I hope what I've shared can give you a little bit of inspiration. So here are some of my key tips to get started or take your work to the next level. First, start by understanding what issue you care deeply about. What keeps you up at night? What's something you could imagine spending the rest of your life working towards? What's your vision for a more sustainable society? Then, raise your voice. Speak up, even by talking with peers, friends, or family. Joining today's discussion at SWE is already an important step forward. Third, I'm sure you've heard how teamwork makes the dream work. So find like-minded people, support one another, and lead the way forward, because we can make a difference together. Finally, in general, start small, but dream big. With every little action you make and every bit of amazing work you do, you are planting a seed in this world. And this seed will become a grand tree, a grand forest. It's just a matter of time. I'll leave you all, sadly, with one of my favorite quotes from Michelle Obama. And I love this quote, so maybe it's not so sad. And it goes, "There is power in allowing yourself to be known and heard, in owning your unique story and using your authentic voice." Hopefully you can think of this the next time you spearhead a project and it'll give you some courage. I want to say thank you so much again to all of you. Feel free to contact me with any questions or even just to say hello. I'd love to hear from you all, and I'll pass it off again to Annalise.
Yeah, thank you so much, Grace. I'll just give another quick shout out to our sponsors. We have Amateur Radio Digital Communications, Danaher Corporation, Community Impact, General Motors, Cisco, and Turner Construction. And if we want, we can go ahead and move into the quick Q&A segment. We guys can ask Grace some questions. So yeah, if you want to go ahead, like if you want to put any questions that you have into the chat, we can go ahead and do that. Yeah, ask away. We have a question from Caitlin Blevins. She asked, what was the hardest obstacle you faced in your STEM career?
That is a really good question. I think the hardest obstacle was probably really, I think it's not necessarily one hardest obstacle that I really faced and was really like a life or death situation or like the really one big decision that would change my life. But I think it's more of a series of small decisions that accumulated to one big decision overall that changes the course of your life. And by that, I mean, it's like the small habits every day, the little decision that you make every day to work on your personal passion project instead of, I don't know, it could be like going out with friends or watching a movie, that kind of stuff. And oftentimes it's very hard for us to give that up, but it's that small decision that makes a difference when you choose to spend time on your project. And I think that was one of the most challenging things. And it's still something that I struggle with today, because every single day we make different decisions, and every single day I have to make the decision of, choosing to work on the stuff that I truly love. And right now, it's become a point where it's very rewarding for me, and it's become habitual now. So it's not too much of a challenge. It gets easier over time. But initially, when I was starting out on my journey, it became very hard to, miss my friend's birthday party or miss like a Halloween party, trick-or-treating, that kind of stuff, like these everyday stuff that is really fun. But oftentimes, if you do miss out on some of them, then it'll give you some more time to work on stuff that you love. And I want to just clarify that I'm by no means saying that you should completely miss out on all of these social activities and stuff, because I think that it's also really important, and I do still do it, but I just would carefully consider how to map out my time a little bit better. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that's great. That totally makes sense. Like, just there's a balance to everything, and you do have to like prioritize your passions, just like you can prioritize, friends and family. There's like balance there. Haley asked, she said, I'm aware that networking is a key part in STEM. How do you reach out to people when you need help from them? For example, getting panels for SWENext Club, or getting sponsors for fundraising.
That's a really great question, and I think it's very important that you bring that up. So thank you. So there are a couple ways that you can network, and it really depends on your personal situation and what you're trying to get out of the networking, I think. So you mentioned like some panel opportunities. So I would say for speaking opportunities, it's really about reaching out to a lot of people, and sometimes it's through like pure cold emailing, looking up and making a list of organizations or events that have these opportunities, and then emailing them one by one or applying for them. And then, because building this building up this I wouldn't kind of like a reputation, or you're kind of having these previous speaking opportunities can back you up when you reach out to other people and ask them for speaking opportunities. So I would say for networking in particular, and just in general, and not just for speaking opportunities, I would say that personally, I had to cold email a lot of people that I was trying to reach out to, but that can often the success rates of that aren't that high. But it is an option that works. So, but it can be a little bit sad and a little bit discouraging. So I do encourage you to try it though, since it does work a lot of the times, and it's a lot of times the way that people work. But another way is something that's more fun, and it would be to explore conferences, events, these kind of big, the best is national, global, kind of more large scale events, so that especially in-person networking is really, really beneficial, and you can trade business cards and really get to interact with people, influential people especially. So looking out for these kinds of conferences and participating in them can be really, really beneficial, and can probably save you some time from going through and cold emailing hundreds of people.
Great. Alexandra asked, she asked, when did you found those two organizations? I think you're a nonprofit, and there's another one that you listed. And so she asked when you founded those, and then also asked if it was during school, and if it was, how did you balance your time?
That's a great question. Thank you. So my nonprofit organization, Sharing to Empower, I founded, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. 2 years ago, I think. Yeah, 2 or 3 years ago, around that time range. And then, yes, I did have school, and I still have school now. So it is, and I'm currently in high school. So it is very tough balancing stuff right now because high school is just so busy. I'm sure you all know. And I did mention a current initiative that I'm doing, Research to Empower. So that's something that I've started up since the end of last year, I think. So it's been around like a year or so. It's very, very current and very, very recent. And having to balance working that amidst school is also a huge challenge, and it's probably one of my biggest challenge, going back to the first question. So I think how I do it is and I'm sure you've heard of like using Google Calendar and these kinds of stuff. And I think it's repeated often, but it's because it really does work. I personally like to make like a to-do list of things that I plan on doing for the next day at night, because at night I'm a bit more tired and I don't really have like the brain capacity of doing any other stuff. So I like to make my little checklist for the next day. And then I also like to have a monthly kind of general like things that I want to do, some targets that I want to hit. And then for larger projects like these, I like to plan it out so that I have a timeline and some key milestones. So that might span over a year or 2 years. So in general, splitting it up into kind of like big overarching goals and milestones, and then whittling it down to maybe by the month or by the week. However, it's very flexible and works, however you want to make it work. And then I personally like to have a daily plan. There are so many ways to manage your time, but I would say really making use of like the time that you have, that's very even like in between periods, for example, in school, in between classes, like studying for like a vocab, using Quizlet. I like to do that on my phone, so that it just saves me like just a little bit time, but just a couple of minutes each day can build up to a lot of time over the course of a week or a month. So it's kind of just like these little changes that you would make, and it's not really anything drastic, but yeah, that's my main advice I would give in managing your time and trying to balance everything, because it can be very tricky, but it's also based on your own personal circumstance.
Yeah, I think that was really, really great. Super helpful advice, Grace. We have a question from Jaslyn. She asked, in such an interdisciplinary field, how did your education play a role in leveling the playing field regarding gender equality?
So to my understanding of this question, how did I'm assuming school education help with my research in these interdisciplinary fields? I'm hoping that's the question. So I would say that my school is a very supportive school, and I go to a very large public high school. So the curriculum there is with these public high school, it's more like exactly like what kind of path you're going to follow, because I know that in, I guess, like private schools or even like homeschooling, these kinds of situations, you can be a bit more flexible with what courses you want to take and what interests you want to pursue. So I think definitely my high school offers a research course, and they have a lot of teachers that are super, super helpful and have helped guided me along the way. But since it is a larger public high school, and it's not necessarily, research doesn't start until you're in high school for me. So I had to do a lot of the interdisciplinary work at home, looking for mentors, that kind of stuff. And that was probably one of the biggest challenges that I faced for research. It was really getting started. And that was also my key motivation behind all of this, because I realized that I just didn't have much support and I had to do a lot of things on my own. And I just went a lot of like different routes and probably could have saved a lot of time looking back if I were to tell like the me from a couple of years ago how to pursue your research journey in a different way. There are probably a lot of things that I would do differently. And that's the reason why I initiated this project, Research to Empower, because I want to help the people out there that don't have access to a research course that early on, or even in high school, but they have the interest to do research like I did, and I had to do a lot of it at home and find a mentor. So I think finding a mentor is definitely really helpful in research, but other than that, I did have to do a lot of it on my own, because research can be a very individual process, but it can also you can also work as a team at the same time. So it really, a lot of my answers, it would have to depend on your own personal circumstance. So I'm just giving the best general advice that I can.
Yeah, super, super helpful. I think we have time for maybe another question or two, and then we'll move on to our little next bit of the night. But Kylie had a question. She asked, what was your first step into taking initiative with your passion projects? For example, like a certain internship or connection, etc. And she said she's just curious about your beginning and discovering your passion.
That's a really important question. Thank you for asking that. I think when I was starting my passion project, first of all, it started with an observation of a problem I saw, something that I personally faced, and I wanted to help other people with. So my passion project is Research to Empower, to help younger people with their research journey by providing resources and a guidebook and all of that kind of stuff, a free online course. So I think for me personally, I am a Davidson ambassador. So that's basically a program that helps you in your passion project. And I had the opportunity to learn a lot from that. But I think if you do, you could reach out and apply for that program, because it is a really great program and I highly recommend it. But if you don't really have an interest in doing that, because there are also a lot of other programs out there that help you with getting started with your passion project. So that's just the one that I'm currently in, and they have mentors for that. So it's super helpful. But I would say in general, if you don't really have a program right now, or that kind of situation, how I got started is first identifying my key mission, what I want to do, who my key audience is, and what key goals I have. And then from there, I made a timeline and breaking down the specificities of each goal, since each goal was more overarching. For example, write a guidebook, and then I break it down into drafting the guidebook, making a table of contents, and then writing it, sending it out for publishers, that kind of stuff. So definitely for me, I think I even made this plan, this outline, writing my mission statement, writing my goals before I was enrolled in the Davidson Ambassadors program. So that's how I would advise you to start your passion project. But then again, of course, everyone is different. So it really depends on how you want to make it work, and you can be extremely flexible with it.
Amazing. Those were such great insight and answers to these questions, Grace. I think this is about as much time as we have for our Q&A, but Grace, do you have any final words of advice that you want to give everybody today?
Final words of advice. I think if you all were to leave with one key takeaway from me, it would be that I hope you all can really be courageous and brave when you're embarking on your own journey and your own passion projects, because and just don't let anything discourage you or stop you, because there can be so many outside factors that are stopping you or hindering you from your progress. But keeping in mind that this definitely takes a lot of time, and Rome wasn't built in a day. So just be patient with yourself, and also just have grit and have patience and grit to I think definitely go through with it. And yeah, definitely. I think having grit and being patient with yourself, and oh my gosh, I'm like totally having a brain fart right now. I don't know why, but having grit, being patient with yourself, and reminding yourself that you can do it is extremely important.
Amazing. I think that's such amazing advice, and like really just really good to keep in mind, especially for anybody who is like graduating from high school, like about to head into college. Like having grit and being patient with yourself are two really good things to keep in mind when you hit second semester freshman year. So yeah, thank you so much, Grace. If anybody had any questions that didn't get answered in this time, you can always send them to outreach@SWE.org or in the Slack channel, and we can get them passed along to Grace. But let's give some like snaps, claps, applause, emojis, spread some love in the chat for Grace for coming and speaking with us today. And it was just really fantastic. Really just every time we have these, I feel like I learn stuff and walk away with new insights. Perfect.
Look at that. That's so sweet. Oh. All right. So we're going to move to that Sheila Spotlight.
Yes.
Would you like me to open it up, or you got it?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was trying to oh, I guess I'll leave that. I'm fine either way. If you want to, we can do it together.
Let's tag team this thing. That's what we do. I know you guys have seen me pop in and out, so sometimes I try to stay out of the screen just to make sure I'm not confusing you guys on who you're talking to. But we're both helping to push forward Sheila, and I just want to say you guys have been so amazing this year. I have personally talked to a lot of you all, and you guys have really talked about your experience, whether it's doing a SWENext Connect or participating in one of these live sessions with our speakers. You guys are really engaged with the content, and I have no doubts that you guys will take everything that you learned from here and apply it as you continue on in your STEM journey. So this part of this session is going to be your opportunity to give your experience with Sheila. A lot of times our sponsors that we have, they hear from us like exactly what the impact is, right? But it's so different to take those numbers that are just quantitative, and then you just have that qualitative content of like what it personally meant to you to be a part of Sheila this year. So I'm going to take this moment to call out some of our SWENext influencers. I know you in here. I saw y'all pop in. Some of our SWENext influencers that are on the line, or just a Sheila participant who's been consistent from jump, or if you just joined not too long ago and you want to talk a little bit about how Sheila has personally impacted you, what you plan to do for the future now that you've participated and learned a lot of these things, how you'll apply it. I'd like to take this time to give thanks for this experience. So I'm going to ask that you do the same thing that you did with Q&A. So you're going to unmute your mic, raise your hand, or drop it in the chat so we can hear a few thoughts about what you personally gained from Sheila. You can even cheat and use some of your responses from your survey reports. That's totally fine. I see Vanessa. Yes, you go first.
Yeah, no, thank you. I just wanted to say, like, I think one of the coolest things about like the SWENext thing, one of my favorite parts, we're just kind of getting to meet everyone and just kind of like bounce off like what we've been working on, our passions. Like, I thought it was just so interesting to see like the projects that some people have been working on, and just kind of like talk about like this amazing speakers that we've had with the program too. I think like I know the when we were doing like the burnout session, I thought that was incredibly helpful, because not only am I seeing, someone like someone successful in engineering, I'm also like able to understand that they too are facing maybe some of the things that I like and starting to like, if it's like a struggle or like a challenge, and it's just hearing from someone else, I think is really impactful. So yeah, it was really amazing this whole year, and meeting everyone too.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I see there's 2 more hands that popped up. I see Kylie, so I'm going to go with Kylie next.
Hi, I just want to say thank you to all the people who like work behind the scenes to make sure that the SHLA program is working, and also like all the guest speakers that have come along the way for all these breakout sessions. Honestly, like this experience was truly helpful to me, and it gave me something to look forward to. I'm on the West Coast, so for me, it's right after school, but it's still something that I'm excited to go to whenever we have sessions. And I really benefited, I believe, for me personally, it was the resume and interview workshop we had with Cisco. That one was really beneficial for me to like just get face time with like real people who are working in the kind of like industries that I'm interested for my future. But it was really, really inspiring, and I really appreciate everything that you and Sui have done.
Awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything to share? Don't be shy. You don't even have to turn the camera on. I just want to hear from you. You can just chat it if you feel more comfortable chatting it. That'd be awesome. Okay, I see something in the chat. And please, I apologize if I say your name wrong, but Hamanjani, I think is how you say it. I think all of our speakers and sessions have something different to share and that cater to a variety of our needs and interests. Love to hear that. Anybody else have any thoughts? Feel free to raise your hand if you do.
I think Haley, her hand's raised. Haley, if you want to unmute yourself and say what you want to say.
Oh, thank you. So I really liked that session where we had like the interview and the resume, such like Kylie said. So like, it was actually my first time like doing an interview because I never had that opportunity, but getting like feedbacks and like seeing how other people do, like it really gave me like an insight of like how like I'll have to prepare and then how like I'm doing. So it was really great. Thanks for the opportunity.
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah. Aaliyah, I think you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, so again, Sheila has been great, and I think specifically the first session really touched me in the way that I saw how I forgot her name, but maybe Kristen. She really showed how she took her passion project and really made it into something that has had such an impact on so many people. And I think like you talked about like, oh, you should have a passion project, but having these examples to see how people started and how there's been obviously obstacles in the way that they had to overcome, especially what Grace talked about today. It was great to see that obviously people struggle, but you still have to push through and overall make the impact that you are looking to do. And so I think that was very helpful this year.
Awesome.
Amazing.
We got about another minute before we'll go into our next segment and wrap up. So if anybody has any final thoughts they would like to share on their experience with Sheila, now's the time. Right, going once, going twice. Okay. Oh, there we go. We have one more from Caitlin. And Caitlin said that Sheila has been an incredible experience for her, and it's inspired her to speak up and make an impact. You enjoyed the meetups, which is great. I love it. Anybody else enjoyed the meetups? I hope those were also super helpful. Again, thanking us for the opportunity. Yeah, the networking events were something that were really for you all to kind of get to know each other. So it's nice to hear that you enjoyed those as well. All right, so we're at 7:15, Annalise. So I think we're going to wrap it up here. Yeah.
I was also going to say, I'm going to send it in the chat now, just if anybody wants to take care of it right now, but I'll also be sending it out to you via email, your end of year, the program survey. So I'm dropping it in the chat. You guys can fill it out now. You can copy the link, fill it out right after this. You're going to get it sent to you again. So this won't be the first time you see it, or the last. It's the first, but not the last.
Right. You'll get 2 more opportunities.
Yeah.
Oh, Isabella, you said something too here. So you said you had such a great time co-hosting the meetup and connecting with members all over. Thank you for a great year. That is a really good closeout to that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you for a great year. We thank you for a great year. You guys are such a wonderful group to work with for us. We always love being able to sit and listen to your conversations, you know, and hear how much, you know, you guys are learning from one another, but also learning from the people we're bringing in. So it really makes me happy to hear that. I will say, like, I think, Annalise, let's close out this. They have the survey. So can I get one SWENext influencer to volunteer really quickly? I'll tell you what you'll be doing in a second. Just raise your hand for me if you can volunteer. I have a small role for you. Okay, so Vanessa, we are actually going to give you the role of, you're going to be instituting the post-graduation party. So what we're going to do is give you the host privileges to continue on with one another, engaging with one another. Again, we want this to be super informal, so we want you to be able to like just chill and get to know each other before we break for good, right? So exchange numbers, do whatever you want with that time. I'll let the Sheila playlist play as long as I can before I drop, but Vanessa is your new leader for the evening, and she'll be engaging with you as well. And so again, this is just for you guys to sit and chat and network until you decide to pop off. We'll give it about, let's say, you know, Vanessa, you can stay on for 30 minutes or so, and then you guys can end it from there, but we're gonna give it over to you. And you guys have a great time. Thank you guys for such a wonderful year with Sheila. I wanna thank Annalise for taking on the role of moderating the sessions and running them pretty much from beginning to end, from planning to execution. Did a fabulous job with that. Thank you so much again, Grace, for stepping in for our closing ceremony. And I think we'll just go ahead and end it here.